Hey everyone, I'm going to be showing you how to graph independent and dependent variables, and we're going to do this by looking at my dog Monty. You see, Monty here is a really picky eater, so much so that if it isn't what he prefers to eat, he won't eat it or he'll eat very little of it. Let's say we wanted to find out which type of food Monty likes the most. Well, over a week we could measure how much of each different type of food Monty ate to determine which food he likes the best. First, we need to determine what element of the experiment we are purposely changing. In this case, it would be the type of dog food. This would make it the independent variable. That's because the independent variable is what we are changing in the experiment to see its effect. So we would change the type of dog food to see how much Monty will eat. Next is to determine what is being measured. And what I mean by that is what is being affected by changing the type of dog food. In this situation, it's the amount of food eaten by Monty, and this is the dependent variable. So the dependent variable is what changes because of the independent variable. To make the experiment accurate, we're going to need to make sure some things are kept constant. That way, we are only measuring the effects of the independent variable. Some things to keep constant include the amount of food that Monty's given each night. So we're going to give him 128 grams, which is the equivalent of a cup. We're going to make sure the food is given in the same size bowl every night. And we're also going to make sure we feed Monty at the same time every night. These things are called controlled variables, and they are variables that are kept constant to make sure we are only measuring the effects of the independent variable. After conducting the experiment, these were the results. Now, in order to graph the results, let's look at the type of data we have. The independent variables are categories, and the dependent variables are a measurement of the amount of food eaten. We could show these results as a column graph. Watch me draw this graph. Notice that I'm using a ruler for accuracy and a pencil in case of any mistakes. The independent variable always goes on the x-axis, while the dependent variable always goes on the y-axis. This means we will put the type of dog food on the bottom and the amount eaten up the side. A graph also needs to have the axes labelled, including the units it was measured in. So in this case, we will state that the amount of food eaten was in grams. Lastly, our graph also needs a title. Can you see that by drawing our results as a graph, we can determine trends easily? For instance, it can be seen that Monty's favourite foods were cooked chicken and meaty chunks, and his least favourite food was the dry food. Let's say we wanted to make a line graph. A line graph depicts numerical data taken over time. For instance, Monty loves to play fetch. However, as he gets tired, he takes longer to bring the ball back. Let's say we wanted to measure how long it took Monty to bring the ball back after throwing the ball after different amounts of time. We could look at how long he takes to bring the ball back after 0 throws, 5 throws, 10 throws, 15 throws, and so on. First, we need to acknowledge what we are changing in this experiment, and that is the number of throws, making this the independent variable. We also need to identify what we are measuring here. And in this instance, we are measuring the time it takes for Monty to bring the ball back, making it the dependent variable. Next, we would consider what would be the controlled variables. So in this situation, it would be the distance that the ball is thrown, the surface that Monty is running on being grass, and also making sure to use the same tennis ball. Here are the results. Notice how I'm still putting the independent variable on the x-axis and the dependent variable on the y-axis. I'm also going to plot the data onto the graph and connect them with lines. Finally, I'm going to add the axes labels and a title for the graph. Now I'm going to quickly show you how to input this data into Excel so you can make a graph using the computer. First, you put the headings. Then you're going to enter the data like from the results table. Then you're going to select just the results and click Insert. Then you're going to click the column graph. Notice how that the graph doesn't have the title or the axes labels. So you're going to need to select this option from this table here. Then you're just going to enter in the labels. So you're going to enter in the x-axis, y-axis, and also the title of the graph. You're going to do the same thing with the line graph. However, this time you're going to select the data and then click the scatter plot option and the one that has the connecting lines. Then you're also going to choose the option with the axes, labels, and the title, and then you're going to enter in these as well. And that is what you need to know about independent, dependent, and controlled variables, and how to create a column graph and a line graph.